Hello, Dr. Kemp here, Hammond Doc. Since the invention of the Hammond organ, many articles and books have been written about the Hammond organ, the history of the Hammond organ, various models of the Hammond organ, various aspects of the Hammond organ, even how to play the Hammond organ, how to set up drawbars and various other parts of the organ in order to get differences in tones in and on the Hammond organ. Today in this video I would like to share with you 4 books that are a part of my Hammond organ library. I have other books, but I want to share with you today these 4 books in particular because they are I believe very well written books. They contain a great wealth of information about the Hammond organ and Leslie speaker system, and so I want to share this with you, this information with you today. Now, this first book is actually a magazine. It's a keyboard magazine. I used to have a subscription to this in the 80s and in the 90s, and this particular edition is 1999. This is June 1999. If you don't have this, if you're a Hammond organ musician and you don't have this edition, you might want to look for one of these. Get on the internet and try to find one of these. This edition said Beauty and the Bee, and with Joy DeFrancisco. And there's an article here on page 48 of the magazine where Joy DeFrancisco was interviewed, and he talks about Jimmy Smith as being influential on his musical life. And also he talks about setting up drawbars and how he sets up drawbars to play music. And then one of the things that I remember about Keyboard Magazine is they would put some musical score in here for those who read music, and you could try out some of the techniques that they talk about in the interview. Another book that I want to share with you, though, that has really captured the attention of the Hammond community over the years is this book called The Hammond Organ. Again, Beauty and the Bee. Beauty in the Bee. And not and the bee, but in the bee, Beauty in the Bee, by Mark Vail. And I've read reviews of this book, and people always have criticisms of something. You try to do something that's useful, then somebody's always got something negative to say about it. So you can read the various critiques of the book and the criticisms that people have to say, but I am grateful to Mark Vail for putting together the book. According to some of the criticism I've heard that some things that are in the book that are not accurate. So I mean, and I'm sure that Mr. Vail has received feedback as well on that. So that's why he came out with a second edition of the book, The Hammond Organ, Beauty in the Bee. Let me see here if I can. It says Miller Freeman Books, San Francisco. This particular edition is copywritten 1997. But the new edition, the copyright on it is 2002. So hopefully between 1997 and 2001, Mr. Vail heard and read the feedback that he received from people and made corrections. in this book. Now, I'll share with you some of the content that is found in Beauty in the Bee, the Hammond organ. It talks about in chapter 1. Chapter 1 deals with B3 basics. Chapter 2 deals with the Hammond B3 unbeatable mechanical soul. Chapter 3 talks about the synchronous clock to organ stops. Chapter 4 is Hammond's You May Have Known. Chapter 5 is called Buying and Maintaining a B3. What to look for and what you can fix. That's on page 97. And I've read that type of material before. I'm going to put a bookmark on that one because I want to look at that one, that page again myself. All right. It's always good to be aware when you're buying organs. Some tips on that and anything that you can fix yourself. So I like that. Chapter 6 is Don Leslie, The World to Success, as in world, whirl around the world to success. Chapter 7 says Tips from the Stars. Legends share their playing techniques. Chapter 8 is B3 wannabes and Leslie simulators, digital electronics and electroacoustic stand-ins. Chapter 9 talks about support. Contact information. Chapter 10 says Hammondography, must hears. So I guess, let me see, page 280. This is, okay, you must hear these people play. And so they have different bands here. The late Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead, Dr. John, Merle Sanders, Eddie Moore on drums, Julius Simmons on the guitar. They call it the Merle Sanders Organ Trio. Okay, so they have a picture. They have pictures of him in here. And Greg Roll jams on B3. They have other people here, and so they have pictures. Billy Preston. They have a picture of the young Billy Preston in there. And an album that Billy Preston did years ago when I was in high school was called Gospel in My Soul. And even today, I still play some of the music from Gospel in My Soul. So that was a very influential album to my playing, my musical life. Jimmy Smith, who is known as the Great Jimmy Smith, and there are so many others who they said these are must-have. Shirley Scott and Rhoda Scott, and so forth. So these are people you need to hear play, and then there are albums by some of these individuals, and so that you could actually hear them playing the Hammond organ. So this is the Hammond organ. It says the B3 and other Hammond organs, the Leslie speaker, performance tips and cool licks, buying secrets and maintenance tips, B3 wannabes and Leslie simulators by Mark Vail. Okay? Then here's another book. Whew, this thing is it's heavy. It's heavier than the one that I just showed you. And it's called simply The Hammond Organ. An introduction to the instrument players and the who made it famous. Oh, An introduction to the instrument and the players who made it famous. Let's read this thing right. I don't know what's making any sense. Okay, an introduction to the instrument and the players who made it famous. And this is by Scott Furinger or Faracker, Scott Faracker. Okay, and let's see what's in this particular book that Mr. Faracker wrote. This is copywritten in 2011. Okay. Part one of the book is the Hammond organ. It talks about pipe and theater organs, the Hammond clock, a brief musical history, timeline. So page 13 provides a timeline. Talks about 1895, for example. Lawrence Hammond was born. 1911, Don Leslie was born. 1928, Hammond Clock Company was incorporated. 1931, Hammond introduced the Hammond electric bridge table. I think that what I'll do is I might do a video just on a timeline. I'll do a Hammond timeline video for you. But for right now, I wanted to just introduce you to the rest of this book. Then let's see. All of this is part one. Let's see how it's set up. Oh, okay. So it has part one, and then all these sections, it's like 9 sections, and then there's a part two. And the part 2 has all these different names in it. So I'll come back to that. Alright, part 1. Number 2 is marketing the Hammond organ. And talking about the dealership, financing, magazine ads, and postcards, and records, and all of that. Then number 3, it says the various models. Talks about how the vintage tube-tone wheel, Hammond organ works, floating chassis, Hammond drawbars, key click, pedals, pedal drawbars, cabinets and finishes, different models, AB, BA, Novacord, Solovox, BC, BV, CV, BCV, B2, B3, CCV, C2, C3, C2G, C3G, D, DV, G series, G100 series, RT series, and then it goes on to talk about, in the next section talks about the Hammond tone cabinets, different types of Hammond tone cabinets, A20, A40, B40, C20, CR20, D20, CXR20 tone cabinets, going on down, ER20s, F40s, PR40s, QR40s. I like the PR40s when you connect them with a Leslie 122. The PR20s, JR20s, HR40s, K40s, and so forth and so on. There's different ones in here. And then there's the next section, which is 5, deals with self-contained organs. The chord organ, A100, D100, F100, spinets, M series, M2, M3, M100, L100, solid state organs, the Leslie speaker, different models of Leslie speakers. I mean, it's just a wealth of information here for the Hammond organ aficionado, person who loves Hammond organs. There are, all kinds of information here. On the next page, the Proline series, the Leslie preamps. It talks about Leslie alternatives. Hammond Reborn, section 8. Modern Hammond organ dealership, the vintage Hammond dealership. I'm gonna put a sticker on that. Let's see, page 142. I'm gonna do some reading on that stuff. I hear the B-2 bomber outside, flying in the sky, and it sounds like it's flying very low. B-2 bomber has been very active over the last month. Okay, that's the stealth B-2 bomber, and I love when I hear it go outside and see it. It's remarkable to look at. Yesterday it flew like right over my head. Hammond Reborn talks about, okay, I mentioned that church financing, current marketing. Love is where you find it is number 9. Finding and buying vintage Hammond organ. Then it's got a lot of different other information here. Let me bookmark that. Love is where you find it. More good reading for Hammond Doc to do. So I mean, and then the last part has got a bunch of people names, discography, Bob Ralston, Quintron, people I don't know who these people are, Bobby Pierce, Perez, Predro, Don Patterson, and so forth and so on. Tommy Ott, and Jackie Mito, so on and on and on and on. So it has little paragraphs about these different people. Lee Michaels, and Jimmy McGriff. Now I remember Jimmy McGriff when I was in college and listening to his music. I had some Jimmy McGriff albums, and Jack McDuff. I remember listening to those guys, to their music when I was a college student. Hank Marr, and on and on. So this is another book, and so many names in here I can't go through all that. But this is it's just heavy. Wow, this thing weighs you down. I mean, I have to sit it on the desk to read it. So this is something else that I will be doing some reading out of. But I just wanted to share those with you. It's always good to have good reading material, and to do some reading. It expands your awareness and your mind and your thought processing. And reading is something that I've always enjoyed doing, and I continue to enjoy it. So until the next video, I'm going to say to you that this is Dr. Kemp, Hammond Doc, saying to you, please enjoy the remainder of your day. Be blessed.